When I politely declined to stay late yet again, my manager rolled his eyes and said loud enough for the office, "It's cute she thinks she's above helping the team, guess someone forgot their place." I packed up my desk, went home, and sent HR every unpaid overtime request he had texted me over the year. By Friday, they had changed the locks on his office door. I work in Akron, Ohio, at a distribution company. Nothing fancy. Just one of those industrial parks with plain buildings and trucks always pulling in and out. I've been in logistics for a while now, organizing shipments, managing reports, coordinating between warehouses. It's not exciting, but it's a steady paycheck. About a year and a half ago, we got a new manager. His name's Rick. Tall, always in dress shirts with the sleeves rolled up like he thinks that makes him relatable. He came from some larger company in Columbus, and from day one, he acted like we were lucky to have him. You know the type, full of synergy and proactivity talk but doesn't know how the actual systems work. At first, I tried to stay neutral. I don't like conflict. I do my job and keep my head down. But Rick zeroed in on me early. I think he saw I was organized, fast, and didn't argue. So he started using me. It began small. Staying 20 minutes late to finish a freight schedule, checking inventory totals after hours. Then he started texting me at night. "Can you just knock out that reconciliation before tomorrow, or need this updated by morning?" Always phrased like a question, but it wasn't really a choice. If I didn't do it, he'd treat me differently the next day. Less polite. I'd get the worst assignments. He made it clear he wanted loyalty, and loyalty meant staying late, without extra pay. Thing is, I'm hourly. Not salaried. But Rick would act like that didn't matter. Every time I mentioned it, even gently, he'd brush it off. "We're all adults here," he'd say. Or, "This isn't the kind of place where people count minutes." I started tracking everything. I didn't even plan to use it at first. I just needed to keep a record. I screenshotted his texts. Saved his emails. Wrote down the hours. I had messages dating back to the start, over a year's worth. People noticed how often I stayed late. Some coworkers gave me sympathetic looks. Others kind of resented me for it. Like I was trying to make them look bad. But I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I just didn't want to lose my job. Then came last Thursday. It was a rough week already. We were short-staffed because one of our best guys, Marcus, was out with surgery. I was picking up a ton of his work. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I stayed late, unpaid, of course. Thursday morning I told myself, not tonight. You're going home on time. Around 5 p.m., I started shutting things down. I had dinner plans with my sister and hadn't seen her in weeks. I was zipping up my bag when Rick showed up at my cubicle. He didn't ask. Just said, "You'll need to stick around. Freight report's still a mess." I didn't get upset. I said, "I can't tonight. I've stayed late 3 days already. I have plans." He blinked, like he didn't understand the words. Then his face changed. He glanced around, loud enough for everyone to hear, and said, "It's cute she thinks she's above helping the team, guess someone forgot their place." I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. Phone stopped ringing. Keyboard stopped clacking. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him. My hands were shaking a little, but I kept my face calm. I picked up my bag and left. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat on my couch at home, phone in hand, and pulled up every single overtime request Rick had ever sent me. I counted 67. Some texts were just flat out illegal. He literally wrote things like, "Just do it quick, I can't approve OT for this." I sat down and wrote an email to HR. I attached everything. Every message. Every date. I laid out the total hours, over 150 hours of unpaid time. I told them about Rick's comment that afternoon too. I didn't exaggerate. Just the truth. Then, just for good measure, I CC at a law firm in town. I hadn't spoken to them yet, but Rick didn't know that. I hit send around midnight. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I called in and said I was taking a personal day. Around 10:30 a.m., I got a text from Melissa, a woman on the finance team. Melissa, HR's in. They pulled Rick into a conference room. An hour later, Melissa, he looks pissed. He's yelling in the hallway. They shut his office door. Then at 2:45 p.m., Melissa. They made him leave. Security walked him out. I didn't respond. I just sat there, phone buzzing, heart racing. The next day, Friday, I came in early. Rick's office lights were off. Blinds down. There was a piece of paper taped to the door that read, "Access restricted, pending investigation." And the lock? It had been changed. Everyone was quiet that morning. No one talked much. It felt strange. Almost too calm. I didn't say anything. I just opened my emails and got to work. At noon, I got called to HR. And that's where I'll pick it up next. When I walked into the HR office, both of them were already waiting, Rachel from Employee Relations and Greg, the head of HR. They asked me to sit. No small talk. Rachel started, "First, thank you for bringing this forward. What you did was brave." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. Greg took over. "We've reviewed the material you sent. It's thorough. And troubling." They said they had opened a formal investigation into Rick's management practices. Not just with me, but with others, too. Turns out, once my email came in, it triggered a wave. 3 other coworkers had come forward in less than 24 hours. One of them was Marcus. He was on medical leave but had emailed HR from home. He had logs of Rick ignoring his doctor's orders and pressuring him to delay his surgery. Another was Sarah, who used to work on the operations team before getting demoted out of nowhere. She said Rick had blackmailed her into keeping quiet about a damaged shipment that cost the company thousands. Then there was Theo. Quiet guy, always in the warehouse, barely spoke. Apparently, Rick had forced him to clock out and keep working during one of the holiday rushes. Theo kept a notebook with dates, times, and tasks. Every single shift. Greg leaned forward and said, "What you gave us opened the door. And what we've found is a pattern. Rick's been doing this to a lot of people, and we're still collecting stories." Rachel nodded, her voice softer. "We're going to make this right. But we need your permission to use your statements in the full investigation." I agreed. They asked if I'd be willing to speak to legal if needed. I said yes. At that point, I wasn't scared anymore. I was pissed. I left HR feeling like I had just lit a fuse. And things moved fast after that. By Monday, Rick's name was scraped off the directory. Tuesday, his parking spot was gone. But Wednesday? That's when things got messy. Melissa came to my desk. Her face was pale. "Hey, just so you know, Rick's been calling people. From his personal phone." "Why?" "He's trying to talk people into giving him character references. Swearing this is a misunderstanding. Trying to twist what happened." I checked my own phone. 2 missed calls from an unknown number. 1 voicemail. I played it on speaker in my car during lunch. It was Rick. "Hey. Listen, I think we got off on the wrong foot. HR's blowing this out of proportion, and I need someone to explain the bigger picture here. We were a good team, right? Call me back. Let's be reasonable. No apology. No ownership. Just him trying to cover himself." The next day, I forwarded the voicemail to HR. Then Theo told me Rick had shown up outside the warehouse after hours. Security escorted him off the property. By Friday, HR issued a company-wide notice. Rick was no longer employed by the company. If anyone had contact from him, they were to report it immediately. I thought it was over. But it wasn't. That weekend, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Just my name on the front. Inside was a letter. No signature. No greeting. You made a mistake. You should have kept your head down. Not everything needs to be reported. Some people don't forget. I froze. I reported it. HR took it seriously and told me to file a police report. I did. Akron PD logged it but said unless more came of it, they couldn't do much. It shook me up, but it didn't stop me. That Monday, something unexpected happened. Corporate. Not our local office, but HQ in Chicago, sent a representative. A woman named Dana. She asked to meet with me in private. She said she was conducting a culture audit. Apparently, the Rick situation wasn't isolated. Other branches had similar problems, and the company wanted to make changes. She asked if I'd be willing to help create a new set of guidelines for team leads and middle managers, based on what went wrong here. I said yes. But I also said, I want every unpaid hour reimbursed. Not just for me, for everyone he manipulated. She didn't flinch. It's already in the works. And then she added something that caught me off guard. There's also talk about promoting you. I didn't answer right away. Because as much as I wanted to move up, part of me wasn't sure I wanted to stay at all. This place let Rick do what he did for way too long. It took a lot of damage before anyone cared. That's hard to forget. And just when I thought things were calming down, I found out Rick wasn't done. A week later, his name popped up in the news. He'd filed a wrongful termination suit against the company and against me, personally. And that changed everything. When I saw the headline in the local paper, I felt like I'd swallowed a stone. Former manager files wrongful termination suit against Akron Distribution Company, alleges retaliation and defamation. I clicked it, heart pounding. There it was. Rick's full name. A smug photo of him from LinkedIn. The article quoted from the lawsuit he filed in Summit County Court, claiming he was unfairly targeted by disgruntled employees and wrongfully terminated based on false accusations led by a single vindictive subordinate. That vindictive subordinate was me. He didn't say my name in the filing, but he didn't have to. I was the one who sent the first report. Everyone in the office knew. HR knew. Legal definitely knew. I sat frozen at my desk. Later that day, I got the email from legal. Not HR this time, straight from the company's attorney, Sharon Kim. She wanted to set up a call immediately. We spoke that night over Zoom. She was calm but serious. This is more of a PR play than a real legal threat, she said. He doesn't have a case. But it complicates things. And because he included you as part of the narrative, we have to prepare for the possibility he'll try to subpoena you. I asked what that meant for me. At worst, you might have to testify if this drags out. But we'll protect you. We've already filed a motion to dismiss. I asked her point blank, am I going to lose my job over this? She looked right into the camera and said, no. You did everything right. We stand behind you. Still, it shook me. The next few weeks were tense. Rick's lawsuit started to bring out dirt that the company had buried. Past HR complaints from other branches. Settlement agreements. Internal policies that let managers flex hours without approval. Turns out Rick wasn't an outlier, he was a product of a broken system. And because I was the first one to push back, people started whispering about me. Not everyone was happy with the attention. Some coworkers acted weird, like I'd brought trouble to their doorstep. Others avoided me altogether. One day, I went to grab coffee in the break room, and I heard two guys from shipping mutter under their breath, she should have just let it go. Now everything's a damn investigation. I spun around and said, "You think unpaid labor and harassment should be ignored?" They shut up. But I saw the looks. And it didn't stop there. HR started calling in other managers. Mid-level supervisors. They were doing culture checks, but it felt like interrogations. And people were scared. Nervous. Angry. A couple of supervisors resigned. One assistant manager stopped showing up. That's when the retaliation started. Nothing obvious. Just little things. My access badge stopped working one morning. IT said it was a system glitch, but it took half a day to fix. I was left off an important email chain about a vendor issue. When I brought it up, my team lead shrugged and said, "Must have been an oversight." Even my workload changed. Projects I'd normally lead were handed off to less experienced coworkers. I brought it up to Dana from corporate. She said she'd look into it. I trusted her. But I also started documenting again. Just in case. And then, out of nowhere, someone started leaking rumors. One morning, Melissa pulled me aside. "I don't know who started it," she said, eyes wide, "but people are saying you're getting a payout. Like, hush money." I laughed. It wasn't funny, but I couldn't believe it. "No one's offered me a dime," I said. "I've been working overtime just to cover for the mess Rick left behind." But it didn't matter. The damage was done. People believed what they wanted to believe. At home, I started getting anonymous calls. No caller ID. Just silence on the other end. A couple hang-ups. One time, someone whispered, "Snitch," and hung up. I filed a report. HR said they were investigating. Again. And through it all, Rick's case kept dragging. His lawyer filed motions. The company filed counter-motions. Nothing moved fast. Every week I waited for something to drop. I started having trouble sleeping. Jumping at noises. And then something did drop. Dana, the one from corporate who'd been helping me? She was gone. Let go due to restructuring, they said. No warning. No goodbye. Just an empty office and a locked HR system. That's when I knew this wasn't over. I wasn't just fighting Rick anymore. Now, I was up against the company too. After Dana disappeared, everything changed. The people who had supported me went quiet. HR stopped giving updates. My emails started getting "we'll circle back" replies. I felt like a ghost in my own workplace, present, but no one wanted to deal with me. I still did my job. Still showed up early. Still left late. But the stress was getting to me. I was losing weight. I had constant headaches. My hands would shake when my phone buzzed because I kept expecting more threats or some new lie to spread about me. Then I got a message from Theo. He just sent a short text, "You need to see something." He forwarded me a screenshot. It was from one of the internal systems. A memo. Sent accidentally to the wrong group. It was from one of the legal team members, Sharon Kim, the same lawyer who told me the company stood behind me. The memo was titled, Strategy to Contain Fallout from Employee Complaint, Risk Mitigation Plan, and there, in black and white, was my name. A full paragraph describing me as emotionally reactive, possibly unstable, and a reputational threat if the lawsuit gains public traction. They were planning to push me out. Quietly. Encourage transition was their phrase. They weren't protecting me. They were protecting themselves. I sat with that for an hour. I thought about everything I'd done. Every late night. Every report I completed. Every minute of unpaid labor. Every text from Rick. Every voicemail. Every snide look from coworkers. And I realized, I wasn't going to wait to be pushed out. I was going to burn the whole thing down first. I took everything I had. Every screenshot, email, voice message, even the memo Theo forwarded me, And I sent it all to one place, a journalist I knew from my college days, Andrea Klein. She wrote for the Akron Beacon Journal. We'd lost touch, but I knew she still covered workplace stories, especially the ugly ones. I just sent a simple email: "This is happening at a distribution company right here in Akron. Let me know if you're interested." She called me the same day. I told her everything. Gave her names, dates, timelines, evidence. I didn't hold back. She promised to fact-check everything and protect me as a source until I was ready to go on the record. The article dropped 2 weeks later. Headline: Pattern of Abuse, How One Akron Company Let Managers Exploit Workers for Years. It blew up fast. It detailed Rick's unpaid overtime scheme, the retaliation against employees, the cover-up attempts by company legal, and that disgusting memo calling me unstable. They had quotes from Marcus, Theo, and even a former employee who moved to a different state and said Rick threatened to ruin her career if she reported him. They printed a redacted version of the memo. It was damning. By 10 a.m., local news picked it up. By 1 p.m., we had reporters outside the building. Employees were told to work from home until further notice. The next day, the company's official social media pages were shut down after thousands of angry comments. Their Glassdoor rating tanked. Clients started pulling contracts. And I wasn't done. I filed a formal complaint with the Department of Labor and sent them everything, every hour of unpaid time, every message, and the memo. Turns out, the company had been violating overtime laws across 3 states. 2 weeks later, the Department of Labor launched a formal investigation. Then came the lawsuit. This time, it wasn't Rick suing, it was me. I filed a suit through a workers' rights attorney for unpaid wages, retaliation, and emotional damages. And I didn't file it quietly. I let Andrea run a follow-up article titled, "From Whistleblower to Plaintiff, Woman at Center of Akron Workplace Scandal Sues for Justice." The company panicked. They offered a settlement. 7 figures. But I didn't sign right away. I told them the settlement would only happen if 3 things were met: everyone who'd been affected by Rick, and other managers, had to be compensated for unpaid time, with back pay and penalties. Every executive involved in covering up complaints, including Sharon Kim, had to resign publicly. They had to set up an independent oversight board for workplace complaints going forward. I told them if they didn't agree, I'd take it to trial and make sure every email, every memo, every threat was read out loud in court. They caved. Sharon resigned within the week. So did the VP of Operations and 2 regional managers. Rick's lawsuit was dropped. He disappeared from social media completely. I got the payout, enough to pay off my debt, take care of my mom, and start over if I wanted. And the company? They rebranded 6 months later. New logo. New leadership. New name. But everyone in Akron knew who they really were. As for me? I quit. I left a printed copy of that HR memo, the one that called me unstable, on my empty desk. I taped a note to it. Next time you try to silence someone, make sure they don't have receipts. I walked out of that building and never looked back. I took time off. Traveled. Slept. Recovered. Then I started working with a nonprofit that helps people report wage theft and workplace abuse. I give talks now. Help others stand up for themselves. Because what happened to me? It's not rare. But what I did? That part was rare. And I'd do it again. Every damn step.